Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome you to another edition of Game Time with Kenny. Game Time with Kenny is back in the house, and we are ready to rock and roll today. All right, well, today let's start off with the NBA score from yesterday in the playoffs. The Portland Trailblazers, who had lost 7 of their last 8 meetings against the Denver Nuggets, they get the home court back with a 97-90 victory. They used a balanced scoring attack to get the victory, and led by McCollum, who had 20 points. 4 of the 5 starters were in double figures. The only one was Harkless, who had only 5 points. Aminu had 11. Cantor had 15. Damian Lillard had 14, but McCollum led all scorers with 20. And they got a pretty good contribution off the bench yesterday. 2 players were in double figures, with Collins having 10 and Hood having 15. 3-point field goals, not really that good. Um, you know, the story in the playoffs have been the 3-point shooting has not been really good in the Western Conference. Uh, when you look at both series, especially Houston Golden State, they have not been really that good. Um, Hopefully, we're going to see better 3-point shooting when the two go into Houston and play games 3 and 4. Uh, so that's all what actually happened around the NBA yesterday. And so going into the NHL, last night there were 2 Stanley Cup playoff games. Uh, the late game was in Dallas, where the Dallas Stars they lost 4-2 in game 3 when the St. Louis Blues came in and they won 4-2. Well, they returned the favor yesterday with a 4-2 victory over St. Louis, so they now even that series up, and 2 of the last 3 being in St. Louis. Uh, what can you say about that Carolina Hurricanes? I mean, they all got the victory. They used a 3-goal third period to beat the New York Islanders 5-2. It was 1-1 after 20 minutes and 2-2 after 40 minutes as each team traded off goals in the first 2 periods. But the third period was the difference. And the goal scorers for the New York Islanders yesterday was Bailey. He gets his 4th goal of the playoffs, and Taos gets his 1st. For Carolina, looks like Aho had his 3rd, Falk had his 1st, and Teravainen had 2 goals in yesterday's game. He gets goals 4 and 5, and Williams gets his 2nd. So um, that's what went on over there. Now in Major League Baseball, we'll go through some scores for that from yesterday real quick. But before we go into that, we want to find out why is it that John Lester might be Chicago's best free agent signing ever. Well, it is because his work on the mound and his clubhouse presence. The veteran Cubs lefty has more than lived up to his big contract. So, amazing story for those of you in the Windy City for that. All right, so let's go through the scores of yesterday's action first. The Boston Red Sox beat the Oakland A's 7-3. Game 1 of the doubleheader. Kansas City beats Tampa Bay 3-2. Pittsburgh goes into Arlington and beats the Texas Rangers 7-5. Arizona beats the New York Yankees as they're continuing that West Coast road swing. They've already played in Anaheim and they played in Oakland, and now they're in Arizona. And they lose their 3-2. Game one of the doubleheader in Chi-Town, the White Sox and the Orioles play, with Baltimore taking game one 5-4. In game two of the doubleheader, Kansas City completes the sweep of Tampa Bay, winning 8-2, outscoring them 11-4 in the two games, winning 3-2 in the first and 8-2 in the second. The Cubs blank the Mariners in Seattle 11-0. Cincinnati blanks the New York Mets at Shea Stadium 1-0. St. Louis beats Washington 5-1. Philadelphia beats Detroit 7-3. It was the Miami Marlins over Cleveland 4-2. Atlanta beats San Diego 5-1. Colorado Rockies defeat Milwaukee 11-4. Minnesota beats Houston 6-2. Game two of the doubleheader in Chi-Town. It was the White Sox at home getting the victory over the Baltimore Orioles, and the score there was 7-6. Two more games out west. The Angels defeat the Blue Jays 6-3, and it was the San Francisco Giants over the LA Dodgers 2-1. Now, we want to talk about today what happened this day in sports back on May 2nd. All right. A lot of things about the Kentucky Derby will be mentioned in today's episode. So let's start off with 1876 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Chicago's Ross Barnes hits the first home run in the history of baseball's National League. In 1903, the 29th Kentucky Derby, Al Booker, aboard Judge Hines, wins in 209. In 1904, the 30th Kentucky Derby, Shorty Pryor, aboard Elwood, wins in 208.5. In 1906, the 32nd Kentucky Derby, Roscoe Troxler, aboard Sir Huon, wins in 208.8. In 1909, Honus Wagner steals his way around bases in the first inning against the Chicago Cubs. In 1917, the Cincinnati Reds' Fred Tooney and Chicago White Sox Hippo Vaughn pitch dual no-hitter. Vaughn gives up 2 hits and a run in the 10th, so Cincinnati wins 1-0. In 1920, the first game of National Negro Baseball League played in Indianapolis, Indiana. In 1923, Senator Walter Johnson pitches his 100th shutout, beats the New York Yankees 3-0. In 1930, Des Moines Western League defeats Wichita 13-6 in baseball to open first ballpark with permanently installed lights. In 1936, the 62nd Kentucky Derby, Ira Hanford, aboard Bold Venture, wins in 203.6. In 1939, Lou Gehrig ends 2,130 consecutive game streak. New York Yankees beat Detroit Tigers 22-2. In 1942, the 68th Kentucky Derby, Wayne D. Wright, aboard shutout, wins in 204.4. In 1949, Don Newcomb, first start, shuts out Cincinnati Reds on 5 hits to win 3-0. In 1953, the 79th Kentucky Derby, Hank Moreno, aboard Dark Star, wins in 202.2. In 1954, Stan Musial hits 5 home runs in a doubleheader. In 1958, the New York Yankees threatened to broadcast games nationwide if National League goes ahead with plans to broadcast games into New York City. In 1959, the 85th Kentucky Derby, Bill Shoemaker, aboard Tommy Lee, wins in 202.2. In 1962, Benfica wins 7th Euro Cup the 1. In 1964, The 90th Kentucky Derby, Bill Hartack aboard Northern Dancer wins in 2:00. In 1965, Kathy Whitworth wins LPGA Shreveport Kiwanis Golf Invitational. In 1965, Marilyn Smith wins the LPGA Peach Blossom Golf Open. In 1967, the Stanley Cup, Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Montreal Canadiens 4-2. In 1968, the 22nd NBA Championship, Boston Celtics beat the Los Angeles Lakers 4-2. In 1970, the 96th Kentucky Derby, Mike Manganiello on Dust Commander wins 203.4. In 1971, Sandra Haney wins the LPGA Dallas Civitan Golf Open. In 1976, Joanne Carner wins the LPGA Lady Para Golf Classic. In 1978, NBA Championship, Portland Trailblazers win in 4 games. In 1981, the 107th Kentucky Derby, Jorge Velasquez on Pleasant Colony wins in 2:02. In 1982, Beth Daniel wins the LPGA Birmingham Golf Classic. In 1984, Don Mattingly's single breaks up Lamar Hoyt's perfect game bid. In 1984, Cleveland Indians' Andre Thornton ties the record for most walks, 6 in 16 innings. In 1986, Dynamo Kiev wins the 26th Europe Cup 2. In 1987, the 113th Kentucky Derby, Chris McCarron aboard Elisheba wins in 2:03.4. In 1988, 2 events take place here. The Baltimore Orioles sign a 15-year lease to remain in Baltimore and get a new park. Cincinnati Reds manager Pete Rose is suspended for 30 days for pushing an umpire. In 1992, the 118th Kentucky Derby, Pat Day aboard Lil E.T. wins in 2:03. In 1993, 2 events here. Christy Albers wins the Sprint Golf Classic, and Sandra Palmer wins the LPGA Sprint Senior Challenge Golf Tournament. In 1995, the Montreal Expos bat out of order against New York Mets in the 6th inning. In 1998, the 124th Kentucky Derby, Kent DeSormo aboard Real Quiet wins in 2:02.4. In 2005, trailing 9-3 after the 8th inning, the St. Louis Cardinals mount their greatest 9th inning comeback in franchise history, defeating the Cincinnati Reds 10-9 at the Great American Ballpark. And finally, in 2009, at Churchill Downs, the 135th running of the Kentucky Derby horse race takes place. Canadian horse Mine That Bird wins the 2nd biggest upset in Derby history. And now, let's go through the NFL schedule. We do have time to go through at least 1 week right now. And so we were going to pick up on, okay, so we are on week number 11. Okay, in week 11, we're going to start off the Thursday Night Football between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Yes, they will have a Thursday game under the lights as Mayfield, the company, will host Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers in a divisional game. Now, remember last year when they opened up the regular season, they ended up in an overtime tie when they played in Cleveland. What will it be like when they go under the lights this time? And Sunday, the NFL on CBS, we'll have the doubleheader. We'll start with the games on Fox, which they'll have the Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions. Others will see the New Orleans Saints and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Atlanta will be in Carolina. And in the late game, it'll be Arizona at San Francisco. And the games on CBS. Most of you will see the Denver Broncos and the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Jacksonville will be in Indianapolis. Buffalo will be in Miami. The Jets will be in Washington Redskins as they play in Maryland for that one. And the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens as they play in Baltimore. Those will be the early games. In the late games in the NFL on CBS, most of you will see Tom Brady and the New England Patriots as they go into Philadelphia to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Others will get the game in Oakland, where the Bengals will be traveling to the Oakland Coliseum against the Raiders. And the Chicago Bears will be in the LA Coliseum on Sunday night to take on the LA Rams. Monday Night Football, Kansas City at the LA Chargers. Green Bay, Tennessee Giants, and Seattle will have the bye weeks. All right, thank you for watching this edition. You have a great day. Please subscribe to the channel, share this link with all your friends. You have a great day.